Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Join me every week. I release new episodes every Tuesday. Buongiorno, everybody. Every time I listen to that intro, I always think, I need a new intro. But for another time, welcome to episode 116. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. Welcome back if you're a middler. Welcome if you're a new listener. We have a fun story in store for you today. So this past weekend, it was the first time I ever got asked to do a space clearing for an entire inn. So that was really exciting. And as I was doing the inn, I was kind of like, there's no spirits here. I thought there would be. And the owners of the inn felt good. They were like, we feel good about the space. We just feel like we need to clear it. But yeah, there's nothing really bothering us. There's no kind of iffy or icky spots. And at the end of it, I was like, you're good to go. Clean bill of health, no spirits. We did obviously a lot of energy clearing, and there's lots of guests there, so all of that was really good. But sometimes it's nice to see if there's a story or a spirit or something that comes up. And it reminded me of other haunted hotel stories that I have that I've never shared on the podcast before. So I was like, this is a good podcast episode idea, so I'm going to share that with you today. And I have a few stories because I've worked at a few haunted hotels. So I'm going to start off with this week's card pull. I looked in the drawer and I pulled out a few different decks, and then I started to shuffle them and I was like, no. And then I pulled the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light deck and I was like, yes. So one card this week, and the card is Keepers of the Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand behind you. You are supported. You do not stand alone. You have a magnificent team of helpers both in this world and of the earth, who are here to help you every step of the way. Call upon them for assistance. They are here to help. The keepers of the earth acknowledge the work that you have done already and are ready to work through you. They bow at your feet and thank you for wanting to stand for them. To devote your life to protecting the earth in your unique way. It is time to increase your capacity to receive support in the physical realm. This can come in the form of financial abundance, acts of service from strangers, or people flocking to help you in your work. The only thing that is stopping you right now is your capacity to receive support. You deserve to be rewarded for the work that you are doing. You do not need to go at it alone. Call upon the keepers of the earth to help you in your mission. Open your heart and your mind to receive more than you ever thought possible. What kind of support do you need? Call it in right away. Ooh, interesting. Keepers of the earth. I like that. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. So just one card pulled today. That was all I was called to do. I wanted to pull a mediumship card, but gotta know. So you gotta follow the yeses and you gotta follow the nos. So this conversation is really exciting to have because when a medium named Bree comes to Banff in May for our Mediums in the Mountains event, we want to stay at a haunted location and do a YouTube video and a live on Instagram. So I was kind of also talking about that when I was doing the in-clearing. If you don't know, medium named Bree is coming to Banff at the end of May, and we are doing a live group reading in Banff, Alberta. So if you want to get your tickets to that event, there is still some available. It is May 29th from 2 to 4:30 p.m., and I can't wait to meet you in real life. It's going to be a really, really fun event, and we're going to have a lot of extra content that week when a medium named Bree and I are together, so I'm really looking forward to that. This all goes along the topic today of haunted hotels / haunted things that have happened to me, which has all been in hotels mostly. And these stories happened before I realized I was a medium. So these stories are from about 10 years ago. So let's start at the very beginning, circa 2010. I was working at the Fairmont in Jasper, which is known to be haunted, and I was a housekeeper. I did housekeeping there, and there was rumors to be haunted rooms, haunted cabins, and I never really found out a lot about them, to be honest. I just knew that there was different haunted areas. The hotel was kind of creepy. It had some weird areas. It had some weird rooms, some rooms you didn't like being in, but it wasn't too bad in my experience. But there was one day where all of the housekeepers at the end of the day were sent to this one cabin, and this was the quote unquote haunted cabin. And it was rumored that one of the housekeepers fell down these really, really steep stairs to get up to one of the bedroom, broke her neck, and died at the bottom of the stairs. Dun, dun, dun. So I always felt kind of okay in that cabin. I mean, the room where the staircase was underneath it was kind of creepy, but I always just thought maybe that's in my mind because I know this story and it's just me making it up. But one day we were all sent to this cabin at the end of the day to strip the rooms. In housekeeping lingo, that just means we are taking everything dirty out so that the next day it would just be like, put clean things on, clean and leave. So we were stripping the room. So that means you take all the linens off the beds, you take all the garbages, you empty everything, just make sure everything dirty is gone. So there was like probably 15 housekeepers in this cabin because we're all just being sent there at the end of our day. So I go into one bedroom and I am in the bathroom and I grab my garbage bin. And when you're stripping a room, you start from the door and you work your way around the room to make sure you don't miss anything. So I remember I grabbed the garbage bin, I started at the door and I worked to my left and I went into the shower and I was like grabbing all the extra soaps in the shower. So just to be clear here, I have one hand on a garbage bin and my other hand is grabbing the soaps and putting them in the garbage bin. And then I turn past the toilet and I see if there's anything on the toilet. And then I keep turning towards the sink and I'm taking all the dirty soaps from the sink and all the linens there. And then I turn back towards the door. And I remember this very clearly because at this point I was looking out the door and I heard water running. And I remember thinking, I stopped dead in my tracks. And I remember thinking, why would somebody be running water? We're just supposed to be stripping the rooms. Am I supposed to be cleaning this bathroom? And I remember yelling, hey, aren't we just stripping the room? Am I meant to be cleaning? And no one really answered me. So I just went back to my task. And when I turned back into the washroom, I realized my tub was on. Like the water was fully on, like someone was preparing a bath. And I was like, oh, weird. And I just shut it off. And I was like, oh my God. 1 second ago that wasn't on and now it's on. And I like dropped my garbage bin and I ran out of the room to the room across the hall and I was screaming and freaking out. And then she just got scared because I was scared and I was trying to explain to her what just happened. So then 2 of us were screaming in the room and then someone else came in and I explained to them what happened. And I was like, that's the scary room. That's the scary room. And my water just turned on in the tub. And I want to like say this. This wasn't like, you know, when tubs just drip, like a little bit of water comes out, or, you know, when like you shut off the shower and then a little bit of water comes out the bottom. No, like I fully had to turn the handle all the way off. And 1 moment ago, I was in that shower taking out the soap with 2 things in my hands. Like I wouldn't even have been able to like accidentally hit the shower handle or anything like that. So that was really freaky. And I was convinced that the ghost that lived in that cabin or haunted that cabin turned on my shower water that day. And I refused to go in that cabin alone ever again. So the next day when we had to go back and actually clean it, I remember I was like, I'm not going into that room alone. I'm not doing it. And it was funny, but also scary. And I scared my coworker across the hall as well. So I felt bad for that, but it was very scary in the moment because I didn't really process what was happening. So that is ghost hotel story number 1. Moving on, it was the next year. I moved into another hotel in Banff. And this hotel is also known to be haunted. I won't say which one, but I'm sure you could guess. And I was in housekeeping again. So there was a few instances that I have to talk about this because I knew a lot of the stories from this hotel, like the bride and different ones, but I never really resonated with anyone. I did have a colleague that said he saw a premonition of a spirit in one of the rooms and they were like taking a photo out the window, and he said there was a woman in like one of those big like Victorian dresses and she had a camera, but the camera had that sheet that you put over your head and you kind of go into the camera to take the photo, and she like pulled her head out of the camera, took the sheet off and like kind of looked over at him, and he was like for sure it was a ghost. And I thought to myself, that's freaky. I'm never going in that room alone at night. But there's a few things that happened here. So first I want to talk about Sam the Elevator Man. So Sam the Elevator Man was known at this particular hotel to help out guests. And guests would report that Sam, the bellman, helped them. And the bellman would be like, we don't have any Sams working here. We don't have anyone on staff that's the way you describe. They're like, he's an older gentleman. They're like, there's no one here that meets that description. And it was always credited to Sam the Elevator Man. So I like to think that I had a good relationship with Sam the Elevator Man because every time I was pressing the buttons to get into the elevator, it would take forever. The staff elevators were known to be, slow, and if you were trying to get to 4, they would take you to 7 and then 2 and then 6 and then 4. And I always, when I was in a rush, only when I was in a rush, because I didn't want to abuse this, I'd be like, please, Sam, I'm clicking number 4. I just need to go to floor 4. Don't take me to 7. Don't take me to 5. Please. And I used to ask him to help me when I was busy, and he would. And it was like this really good relationship, and I was always like, I believe in Sam because whenever I ask him to not mess up the elevators, he never does. And every other time I go to a million floors and I just laugh and I say, oh, Sam, you're playing a joke on us today. But one time, and I don't know if this is Sam or not. Also, I'm getting freaked out in my house saying all these ghost stories. I'm like, is that Archie? What's that noise? But this one time, now I'm working in banquets, and there was a bunch of us trying to get to another floor. So about, however many people we could cram into that elevator, we crammed in, and the door wouldn't close, and the door wouldn't close, and the door wouldn't close, and we're frantically clicking the button because there's 15 of us in there, and we're trying to get to wherever we're going. And all of a sudden, the phone starts ringing in the elevator, and me and another friend are at the front, and I was like, I'm not answering that. And I was like, no way. And I was just clicking the button. I was like, come on, Sam. Come on, my man. Close this door. We gotta go. There's 15 people in here. And sure enough, the door wouldn't close, and the door wouldn't close, and the door wouldn't close. And I was looking at my friend, me and him were in the front, and I was like, I'm not answering it. And he said, well, I didn't even know these phones work. I'm like, I don't think they work. I'm pretty sure they're just to call Otis. And that's like the company that fixes the elevators. So if anything was ever wrong, that's kind of how you got a hold of them in an emergency. As far as I know, that's what they were for. So there was ringing, and they never ring. I'm like, I don't even know if you can call in on them. It's like you can only call out. I don't know. So me and him are going back and forth. We're not answering. I'm frantically clicking the button, trying to get it to close. And then finally he's like, fine, I'm answering. So he answers, and he's like, hello? He like listens for a few minutes, and he hangs up. And he was like, that was really freaky. And we were like, what? And he was like, on the other end of the line, it was just someone breathing. And we were like, what? He's like, yeah, all I heard was, and then we all started screaming. We're all like, ah, we're taking the stairs. And all 15 of us ran out of that elevator, and we decided to take the stairs. And of course, when the last person left, the door closed. It was so funny. We're like, okay, sign was today, we're taking the stairs. So I have 2 more stories that I would like to say from this same hotel. So again, I used to be in housekeeping, but eventually I moved up to supervisor in different positions. So I was working not only in the rooms, but in the public spaces. And I forget how many public washrooms there are now. I used to know like 36, but I forget how many there are now. And in some of these washrooms, the mirrors were really weird. and I would always be afraid to look in the mirrors in two certain washrooms. So there was one washroom that was very, very cool. It was like a Harry Potter washroom. It was small. It had steps. It was, these really cool ceilings, but I hated being in there. And when I had to go in there to check something or to just like look up on anyone or see what's going on, I would always like run in and then run out. So there's two specific ones. Nothing ever happened, but I refused to look in the mirrors. So it'll be really interesting when a medium named Bree comes, because I want to take her all these places and tell her all these stories and then see what me and her come up, because going back now as a medium is going to be really interesting, because I'm just going to push my awareness out as far as I can to be like, all right, let's play ball. Like, who's here? What do you got to say? What do you got to show us? What can you confirm? What can you deny? As I keep telling these stories, more stories keep coming to mind. So I have a few more. I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm going to stop saying how many because they keep coming back as a memory. I haven't worked at this hotel in going on 7 years. So it's been a long time since I've worked there. Again, I was in housekeeping now, back in the rooms division. And there was these 2 honeymoon suites. And you have to walk up this tower, and the 2 honeymoon suites are right across from each other. So there's 2 numbers. And I remember I used to go into the odd number room, and I was always like, this room is great. I love this room. I'll inspect this room all day long. Like, this is awesome. But when I went into the even number room across the hall, I was like, oh, get me out of here. I used to go get the room attendant to come with me. I would call someone and be like, meet me in this room. I have to inspect it. I would do anything to not be alone in that room. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies. And it was the exact same room as the one across the hall, but it was so, so different energetically. And remember, this is before energy. This is before Reiki. This is before I knew any of that. I just knew that I would never go in that room alone. And then the last story I remember, it was, again, another room that has a big, long staircase right when you walk in. So you're like on the 3rd floor, but the room's actually on the 2nd floor because you walk down. I don't remember if that's actually the correct floors, but you walk down as soon as you get in the room. And it was the only room like that in the whole hotel. So the hotel had many, many, many rooms, and a lot of them were different because of the layout. So this particular one was known because the bathroom is upstairs and the bedroom is down this big set of stairs, which literally takes you to the next floor. It was rumored that a baby died in the bathtub in this room. And it was also rumored that you could see baby handprints on the mirror in this room. So like people would have a shower, and when they got out of the shower, they would see these small little handprints on the mirror. Oh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies just talking about it. Turns to look behind me. It was just Archie. This wasn't my floor. So when you're a supervisor, you kind of have the same floors every day. This wasn't my floor, but I just heard about this. And my friend was working on that floor one day, and she had to inspect that room. And she said, Steph, do you want to come with me? I want to check for the fingerprints. And I was like, oh my God, yes. So we decide to go into the room, shut off the lights, turn on the hot water, and try to see if we can get it to happen. And we were actually in there for about 15 minutes, trying to fog up the windows, trying to see if we could get anything. And nothing ever came to our eyes, but people that I worked with claimed to have seen the fingerprints in that room. And they say that they're so small, there's literally no way it could be any other thing. Now, again, you could say a lot of things about that, but I was always just, goosebumps up my spine with some of these stories. So those are the few of the hotel ghost stories that I wanted to share with you guys. I think they're fun and interesting, and this was, again, pre-mediumship. This is 10 years ago. And this was before I started developing. This was before I knew anything. This was before I was aware of that I could communicate with spirit. So going back is going to be really, really interesting and almost like going on a ghost hunt. So that will be coming out in probably June, and there'll be a podcast about it, of course, but me and Brie are going to do a video. We're going to do it live. So stay connected with us there. If you don't already follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle, I'll leave the link to get those tickets down below. If you are going to be in Banff and you want to come see us in real life, if you know of any haunted places in Banff that we need to go visit, send me a DM. Let me know. We want to do all the witchy things when Bree is here, so that's going to be really fun. I'm going to do announcements now to close out the episode. So this Saturday, February 19th, is my practice mediumship circle. So if you are a developing medium, if it is your first time practicing, your 10th time practicing, your 100th time practicing, you are all welcome. We are doing an hour and a half together. It's a workshop. You'll get a chance to practice with someone else, and then you will also receive a reading from someone else. And it was really well received last time I did this, so we're doing it again as a practice mediumship circle. All mediumship levels welcome. That will be down below in the show notes if you want to register. But that is all from me for this week. Thank you all for listening. Again, my name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. If you would like to book an appointment with me, I offer distance Reiki, Psych K, and Akashic Records. I also host workshops all the time. I do Reiki courses all the time. So all that's available on my website. I'll leave the link down below. And no matter where you're listening to this podcast, if you can leave a review, I would love and appreciate it so much. It really helps the podcast grow and reach more people, which means the world to me. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. I will see you all next week in your ears. All right, everybody, have a good week. Bye.